Dandavat, Jai Shila Avadhut Maharaj. Happy to see you.
All right, thank you, guys. It's a little cold out here this morning, very cold, but I'm in the sun. I'm warm up by inspiration to see you all. And thank you so much for you to invite me again, give me an opportunity to associate with devotees. So we do have different devotees. Today we do English speaking class, English speaking Zoom. And so I want to just remind everybody that as soon as Gaur Purnima coming, and before that, many holy auspicious days, including Shivaratri, and other days that worth to considering to participate in Vaishnava tradition, Vaishnava mood. So if any of you have any spiritual questions or comments, or want to express something which is in your heart, which you share with us, very good. Let's do it, and let's begin this auspicious meeting with prayers. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhaktarinda Om Gyan Timiranda Syad Yanandana Shalakaya Chakshurog Niritamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So first, our regard to Panchatattva that descend to this world in Kali Yuga to liberate fallen souls such as us. Then to Sri Guru, who's Krishna, is coming in the form of Guru, to individual soul, and to the spiritual level of consciousness, which is known Vasudeva, by which spiritual reality can be realized. All right, so any other questions or comments?
Yes, Maharaj, we have a question from Mary from the USA. I am mostly here to hear whatever comes up, but I'm always eager to know what is the question I should be asking that I don't know enough to ask.
Wonderful, wonderful. Marie, thank you so much for your amazing approach, because this is very humble and very sincere. So I was, believe it or not, I was watching, I was just like 7 advices or 5 advices of Russian mafia men who start in America from nothing. And I thought, oh, it's interesting, like an old dude who spent all his life in prison, what he's going to say. And, I even share in my group. So everything he said is almost like Vaishnavism. It's almost like spiritual things, but there's no Krishna. What he normally say, all your life, you have to serve to superior and surround yourself to superior. And second things he said, like, kill your own ego, kill your own ego. Like if it's ego-based questions, they have no value. But the sincere person would sincerely inquire, hey, what if I don't have, proper question? Therefore, Srila Prabhupada wrote a book called Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers. I love this book. This is the first book I've read. I'm sure if Marie would read this book, she would love it, because they're just questions of existence of God. But when I spoke with Govinda Maharaj about that book, he was smiling. He said, in the very beginning spiritual stage, we don't even have proper questions. Like, therefore, it's all about our fortune, because we've done so many previous activities in previous lives, and that will lead us to spiritual understanding. So not everybody is coming to Krishna consciousness because he's intellectual, or he studied comparative religions, or he's been practicing yoga and going step by step. No, a lot of people just coming, hey, what should I inquire? And it's very sincere. That's why when I'm in business meeting or technical meeting, I normally ask people that help me, can I ask you a stupid question? And they say, yes, of course. And I say, I'm sorry, the reason I'm saying stupid question, because I'm not knowledgeable in this field. Maybe I'm not asking the right thing. Please correct me. And normally these people, out of humility, they're very kind. And it's a lot worse than you start to playing an expert. And then people in 5 minutes figure out you know nothing about nothing. So it's kind of being humbly approaching spiritual master and devotees and Lord himself is the way to go. Therefore, Krishna say, Tad vidhi pranipatina pariprashnena sevaya Uparikshanti te gyanam gyaninas tattvadarshana. So how do you get the truth, ultimate truth? Yes, pranipat means surrender and inquiry, sincere, humble inquiry. Surrender, inquiry, and serve with the mood of service, and then the truth will come to you. So thank you so much. It's amazing that you are very sincerely attending this meeting, and without any high self-estimation, say, what should I really ask? Well, Sanatan Goswami asked question to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Kiami, who I am. That is the most important question. What is my real position? Am I American, Russian, Chinese, or am I, alien from another planet? Am I a spiritual soul, that part and particle of Krishna? So Mahaprabhu replied to him, no, you are part and particle of Krishna. Maybe you descend from another reality, another planet. Maybe right now you're taking body of man or woman in this or that country. But really is your position, is you're part of Krishna. You came from God. And you're part of that beauty, charm, love, and attraction that you're seeking in this world. And only complete fulfillment you'll find there. So people are misleading in this world, fulfillment and pleasure. See, a lot of people, pleasure seekers, they look pleasure in nature and food, and they like to exploit. So it's exploitive, settled, sometimes very settled. So some of my friends from Bay Area, he told me, I'm eco-fascist, which means like I love nature so much that I even hate people. I said, yes, you are eco-fascist, but how about you, wealthy man? You have that beautiful eco environment, so you're just preserving for the sake of your ego and your own community. But what about other people? Do they deserve to enjoy the nature? Yes, they do. So, instead of being eco-fascist, try to become eco-communist. Try to say, hey, we want to share nature with everybody. Nature is divine. That's why in Shiva Purana and other Shiva prayers, it's always expressing that divinity is within nature. And the sages, they would ship forests, they would ship trees, and especially the holy trees. And that's the way you see it. So you don't see it, it's yours. You're not see as exploiter. You see as your servant of nature. And you coming to serve the nature, and people are part of nature. Yes, maybe people not exactly, realizing that position, not everyone, but educate people about divinity in nature, divinity in general, their own divinity is the best thing we can do. Just think of this. If everybody would be Krishna conscious, would be war in Ukraine today? No. If everybody would be Krishna consciousness, would be any crazy stuff about eco, global warming? No, because people would naturally conceive what they need, and they would naturally reject what they don't need. There would not be so much competition in the world. So we can say the world needs to be changed. And when we really clearly realize that this change has to be spiritual, we can force people to concentration camp or digital concentration camp, digital control, physical control, but that's not how you change the world, by controlling everybody, holding everybody accountable. That's pretty much like, trying to enforce your power. But Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, beauty over power. The highest form of power is beauty, attraction, seduction of the heart, love and affection. And that's what family is. Good family runs exclusively based on love. Yes, there are, of course, rules in the family, of course, especially for children that does not realize their position in the family. But in general, family means love and affection. So to inquire good questions does not mean you have to be philosophical or you have to read a lot of books and, just fog your brain with so many terminology in Sanskrit. It's actually when we say Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva, we realize it's coming from spiritual plane. It's coming by grace. So one great person said, you don't need big resources to be able to love God. You don't need big intellectual resources to be able to love God. You need very few things. Number one, great heart, willing to serve, and mercy of the Lord. So the mercy of the Lord coming through devotee, coming through Guru Vaishnava, because they can talk to you. Like you can barely talk to God. A lot of people try, they fast, they meditate, but it doesn't sound like, pretty much possible. Yes, God can tell you something from inside his heart. But normally, when real things starts, when real conversation with God starts happening, it's happening through Bhagavad Gita, his books, holy books, but mostly it's coming from devotees. And even if you read book like Bhagavad Gita, what do you see? Krishna speaking to his own devotee. In other words, God speaking to somebody who's dear and devoted to him. And that devotee is not keeping to himself, he's sharing with everyone. So therefore, the nature of being devoted to share grace of God with others. That's why we meet, that's why we preach, that's why we practice together, we chant together, because we want to share with others. And believe it or not, that's a very common feeling in any kind of church and any kind of spiritual community, to share. And why? Because that the process of sharing God's grace is joyful. It's fulfilling your inner self, although it doesn't look like, you know, you're surfing on the surfboard or eating barbecue on the party. You know, you're just sharing God's grace, but it's much more fulfilling than everything else you can ever experience in this world. So thank you very much for your questions. Don't hesitate to ask yourself. I mean, Rasananda always can help, but don't hesitate to ask. And do we have a Jayadev here? Okay, maybe not here today, but there are great devotees here in California which want to join our spiritual Zooms and bring more dynamics on the Zoom. Any other questions? Anyway, thank you so much for inspiration.
Maharaj, we have a question about Shivaratri.
Okay,
Maybe
sounds good.
Saturday.
Yeah.
If devotees must to celebrate Shivaratri,
Yes.
if, yes,
Yes.
so how?
Okay, so let's talk about Shivaratri. Remember, God is ultimate, and the highest expression of God is Sri Krishna, the absolute supreme sweet enjoyer. But when God expanded himself to material reality and spiritual reality, he transformed himself in different forms. So Lord Shiva has two positions. One is eternal position in Vaikuntha, the spiritual world. One is position in every universe. So considering he's accepting form and male and female divine energy like Shiva and Shakti, father and mother. So Shiva is father and mother of every living entity by acting through his potency with the Maya, the mother of every living being and all the nature. That's why we call Mother Nature, but really Maya is mother of all the natures, including living beings. So just like merciful mother fulfilling desires of her kids and children, Lord Shiva and Shakti, they're present in every universe. And Lord Shiva, interestingly, collecting, he's controlling ahankar, ego. Everybody have ego, and we can say false ego. So what he really does a chance for us to go to this virtual reality world, accept virtual avatar, and think, I am that virtual avatar. That's called ego. When you play a computer game as a spiritual soul, you enter to your virtual physical material body, and you think, hey, that's what I am. I am that character in the film or in the game. So self-identification with the character, that's called ego. And Shiva in charge of that, but Shiva is not just our enemy, neither Maya is our enemy. Our enemies within is ourselves. So when we entering that material game, we can end up the game by realizing I'm not part of that virtual material environment. I'm a spiritual being. And my true ego is not to be the enjoyer and controller and conqueror of this world, is rather to be servitor of sweet absolute supreme Lord. And so at that moment, when this awakening started happening in our life, Shiva has become our guide and he helps us. So how does he help? Remember, Shiva is one of the greatest devotees. And there's so many stories about Lord Shiva, and there's so many examples of Lord Shiva. So it is says in Shiva Purana, specifically, how great he is. And, in Rudra prayers, there are particular prayers to Lord Shiva, which chant in every Shiva temples, which Vaishnavas, we don't chant, because those prayers are pretty much recognition, material principle of Shiva, and some of spiritual principle. But basically, it's an interesting, if you really know those prayers, they're very unique, because it says, you in every living being, men, women, you in every living entity, you in every piece of nature, you a protector of dogs and cows. Why is it dogs are mentioned? Because dogs in Vedic society considered to be lowest species. They're not clean, they eat trash. They're kind of like, they're not kind of dogs in Western society where people love and worship dogs. Dogs just in India living on the street, and they're barking, they're eating some unpure food. But it says in that stotram, you are protector of dogs and cows. Okay, cows have highest position in the in society. You can understand. Okay, you protect Lord protecting cows, but why he's protecting dogs? So he's also saying you protecting everyone, outcast as well. So that means you're generous to every living being. You really expanding yourself, your mercy and compassion to every living being, including plants, perfect people, imperfect people, etc. So hearing all these prayers about Lord Shiva, you can understand that there are really divine principles declared in those mantras. So right now, people trying to, talk about eco-green constitution. We need to talk about global warming and what would be the proper way to treat the world. Okay, so my point is this to these globalist guys: what you're writing is bullshit. So take the Shiva mantra and just hear the translation of it, and you have a global constitution about loving nature, appreciating other people, treat them well, and at the same time, we can understand Lord Shiva is super renounced. He never appeared to be like enjoyer or controller. He's always in position of sadhu and yogi, and he's always sharing spiritual knowledge with others. That's why he called Ashutosh, one who easily satisfied. He doesn't have, although he's a controller of ego, and sometimes he invokes his own ego to fight with Krishna for the pleasure of Krishna and clarity of scriptures. But himself, he has a very sweet, very generous nature, where he, expand his heart to those who are looking for spiritual perfection. And in this mood, we appreciate him in Shivaratri. Ratri means night, and there's not one, there are many Shivaratris. So there are many Shivaratris through the year, which Shaiva devotees follow. But as considered to be Vaishnavas, we follow that one Shivaratri, and according to scriptures, it is very beneficial to worship Shiva at night, because he's also controlling Tamaguna. And so nighttime is appropriate for his puja. So it says when night means dark, that time, the power of puja is increased. And there are so many ancient Shivalingams in India, like one in Pushkar. That Shivalinga seems Lord Brahma. Millions of years. I've seen those Shivalingams, and I've been participating in their worship. So it says they can give incredible results to worshiper. What are those incredible results? Well, as a devotees, we're only seeking one incredible result, is devotion to Krishna. Because love and devotion, that's what we need. Everyone needs love and devotion. So demons, they're asking some material enjoyment from Shiva, and he's being kind, giving that to them. Yogis asking Shiva path of self-perfection and benefits on that path, and Shiva's gracing them. He's teaching mystic yoga. But those who have the most important understanding that spiritual reality based on love with Supreme Lord, they're called bhaktas. They're asking Shiva only one boon: please give me devotion. You're very wonderful expansion of Lord, and you acting as a great devotee. Please give me these blessings to become a devotee of Lord Krishna. And Shiva is very happily giving that special blessing, more happily than any other blessings. So if we properly worship Lord Shiva at that very time, and our Gurudev established in Navadvip, a Gangadhar Shiva Mandir, and that Shiva Mandir is very powerful because it's in relation, everything within relation with Holy Dham. And so when you go to any Holy Dham, holy place, you see that Lord Shiva, even it's specifically a Vrindavan or Vaishnava, Jagannath Puri, or any other place, you'll find that Lord Shiva has very special position as a Dameshwar, is a visa officer. Without his blessing, you really cannot get proper benefit of the Holy Dham. So worship of Shiva according to scriptures, not permitted to Vaishnavas, and according to scriptures, you should not neglect Shiva. That means you honor Shiva as a great, Vaishnava, not a demigod, not because in a very general materialistic religion, Shiva honor as demigod by worshiping whom you can receive particular material benefits, or Shiva honor as a source of supreme Brahman, supreme consciousness, by which worshiping which you can merge into that consciousness. So these two concepts are not complete. They're partially truth, but they're not accepted by Vaishnavas as a pure way of worshiping Lord Shiva. So Shivaratri, night of Shiva, very important. The good thing for that is to speak glories of Lord Shiva, especially when it combined in connection with Lord Krishna or Mahaprabhu. So we're always trying to link all these stories to the highest pastimes, and then offer him, nice puja and flowers and leaves. He's very simple. He like Ganga Jal, he like the leaves, just like Krishna himself. But normally we offer bell leaves or any kind of actually leaves and flowers with love and devotion. And believe it or not, in Shiva Purana, there's one big part which is called the glories of Tulasi and glories of Ram Nam. So you would think in Shiva Purana, Shiva would speak about some other things, but it's described the glories of Tulasi plant, which is beloved tree of Lord Krishna in Vrindavan, and Ram Nam, which means the supreme name of Lord. So therefore, even in Shiva Purana, which is very beautiful book, which describes so many sacred things, including human physiology, how the prana work, how the rasa flowing in the body, because it has different chapters. Each chapter dedicated to particular things. So it's been mainly studied by yogis and Shaiva tradition, but of course, Vaishnavas, our gurus, they knew everything. But the most important emphasis is the glories of Tulasi, the glories of name of Ram. Therefore, this mantra that Shiva always chant Lord Ram's name. But as we know from Vrindavan pastimes of Shiva, it's not just Ram's name, because it's a general explanation. We know from the pastimes of Lord Shiva in Vrindavan that even Shiva want to become Gopi of Krishna, and his name is Gopeshwar Mahadev. So he's in charge of Gopi security group at the dance time of Krishna. When Krishna danced at night in Rasa Leela, Shiva taking form of female Gopi, beautiful Gopi with the snake on his on neck. He's guarding the gateway. If any other Gopi who's not qualified to dance with Krishna try to sneak in, he's chasing her out. So he has got exclusive position in Krishna Leela as well. Therefore, intimate connection between Lord Shiva and Lord Krishna is not easy to understand. And there's some in India, there's Shaiva, there are arguments with Vaishnava, but when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw he's just a smile. It's just like children speak, oh, my grandmother is more stronger than your grandfather. Oh no, my grandfather can lift your grandmother, but your grandmother cannot lift my, it's all childish approach. But one who has spiritual knowledge, he appreciates every living being, what to speak about great demigods, but he also understands that Lord Krishna is source, supreme source of everything and everyone, which is very clearly stated in scriptures and confirmed by all these great demigods. Any other questions?
Yes, Maharaj, we have a question from Anand. She asking Dandavad to Maharaj and all the devotees. And question is next, what is the love to spiritual master? How we can sincerely practice this, and how we can reveal?
Okay, that's a very good question. So when Guru Maharaj was asked about marriage, he said very interestingly, he said, in your Western society, you start from love and end with divorce. He said, in our Indian society, marriage starts from, connection where boy and girl meet and they get a connection. Then if they like each other, they engage in marriage. And marriage means children. Marriage means household duties and, follow the certain thing. And then the end of their marriage life is to marry their own children and maybe engage in a spiritual practice according to Vedic rules. But what they say is, as you just engage as boy and girl, you don't really have deep relationship. The deep love and relationship grow when you serve together and you go through difficulties of family life and you sacrifice. So by end of your marriage, you really realize how much you love each other. So when we talk about spiritual master, maybe in the beginning we like this guru or like that guru or like that master or like another master. But our true love to spiritual master will be when we start serving our spiritual master. And when we say serving spiritual master, it's not just personal service, because Vapu and Vani, the instructions of spiritual master, and of course, spiritual master is one, it's Krishna. So he's just acting through different devotees. So when we are serving spiritual master by serving devotees, serving holy name, serving Krishna, and be part of spiritual community, and we realizing that I don't have one spiritual master. Also, the guy that I'm serving with, my senior guy, also my spiritual master, because he showed me how to serve spiritual master. And I also have super high spiritual master who, like Goswami is another great acharyas. But, when I just joined in, I couldn't appreciate fully their message. It took me, many years to be able to appreciate something they've said. So in this spiritual path, you will realize spiritual master everywhere, in everybody's heart, and and in your own heart as well, as voice of spiritual master. So, but it takes some time to realize these things. It's not like you become a neophyte followers and suddenly you have so much love for your guru. Yes, you can have appreciation to Guruji. You can understand he loves you with compassion, just like a child, little child. He doesn't really know what his mother is, a father. But it will take child to grow up to be able to appreciate all these things and all these people. So appreciation comes in time and service. And that's the answer. Anyone else?
Dear friends, you can ask in Maharaj question by voice or by text. Maharaj, I have one question from our describer. You can ask this. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, why among the enslavers Krishna is time? Why did he choose this particular instrument for self-expression as an enslaver?
Well, because we are limited, our presence and limited in this world by time. So there was one science fiction movie in America where the future currency would be time. So people had to do something and get the work to get the time. It's also now they're trying to do social rating in the world. Specifically, they already started in China. You will earn social rating, means your behavior will be your currency. Your behavior will express how well you can be accepted in society and how far you can travel. That's already happens in China. So if you're not really rated by artificial intellect as a high society level individual, you'll get no way to move, and you'll get no way to even use your finances. You'll be like completely in exile, almost like in prison. So that's the future digital slavery that the globalists preparing for humanity, and they will try to apply that. But one interesting thing in this, so basically you're not just can buy things in the world with money. It's pretty much like a digital karma for everyone. They're trying to make that digital karma that, it's a very demonic thing to do that, because the gods are acting on behalf of Supreme Lord, and the globalists, they're coming on behalf of their own mind, which is devious. But, everybody meant good. So when people build concentration camps, the Germans, they thought we're liberating the world. We're doing a good thing. So, so it's very important to understand if what's going on in the world connecting with Supreme Lord or not. Therefore, our time is something that we can waste completely, or we can invest our time into our spiritual life. So if our time connected with Supreme Lord, then we can say that time has been for liberation, been used for spiritual liberation. If our time is being wasted by superficial, mundane things, if we're just goofing around and thinking, hey, I'm a beautiful girl, I'll be beautiful forever, that's a big mistake. One day you become an old babushka, old woman. And believe me, nobody will sign for your Instagram unless you're smart, unless you have to say something spiritual. Because they were going to look at another young, beautiful girls. They're not going to look at you once your time is over. And that time is very short. Unless you join the Narayani's yoga class and learn Krishna consciousness. And then they say, hey, this woman is beautiful. Yes, she's aged, but she's so sweet because she speaks sweet. She speaks spiritual things. And it's amazing because she did not just waste her time for makeup and cosmetics. She built up her internal beauty. She built up her internal spirituality. So even externally, if you are like that, you'll be appreciated by people. You're not just be considered to be old prick or, an invalid or you're a retired person who has nothing to offer. You'll be valued and appreciated even by young generation, because you have some wisdom, you have some inner beauty, and you have something to share with others. That's a great, but more greater than that, if you have to die one day, and things that will be on your account will not remain. Money will not remain, your property will not remain, your friends and family will not remain, but what will remain is the spiritual knowledge, eternal spiritual knowledge, the good deeds that you did in the spiritual consciousness, and the progeny, the spiritual wisdom that you left for next generations. That will continue. So therefore, by looking at young people like Rasananda and all our younger generation of devotees, I'm so happy because I'm thinking, yes, maybe, Avadhut Maharaj or others, they could not do everything what our gurus want, but I've seen that our team of devotees, and I'm not just mean Rasananda, I'm just saying that our team of young devotees who will take over, and they're already taken over. So one devotee today complained to me. He complained to me about why these older devotees do this and that. And I said, it doesn't really matter what they do. They have reason for that. What about you? What is about your spiritual life, your success? Why are you judging somebody else who is much smarter and much more experienced than you are? And how does this affect your faith? So why don't you go and you preach and you follow Gurudev and you do what is perfect, and you do what needed, and then it will affect you. So don't look at somebody else who's doing this or that. And it's very important for us to understand. We have to mind our own business, and if we use our time to criticize people, then we're just going to waste our time, because there are people who criticizing me that lead me to criticize them. There are people who then instead of using valuable time for our spiritual sadhana, we're just going to waste our time around looking for somebody else's fault. And we know one thing: no one's faultless. Everybody has some faults. So we here together in this community not because we're perfect. We here together in this community because we're looking for perfection, right? So as much as imperfect we are, our meeting of purpose of our meeting today is to seek perfection. And to seek perfection means to concentrate your mind on perfection, not on other people's faults and bad qualities. Everybody have them, one way or another way. Somebody hiding them, somebody manifesting them. We know once you're in material world, you are in trouble. And second thing we know, yes, there are some great saints coming to material world, but even they manifesting their destiny that they have to overcome difficulties. So no one can, no one can be in this world without overcoming difficulties. As for the Leelas of Supreme Lord and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or story of Jesus, look, he was betrayed by his own disciples. He was crucified by his own people. And still, because he's done some great sacrifice, he's been appreciated by thousands of others. So even in his own time, they could not appreciate him. Even in his own time, they crucified him. It didn't impact, let's say, his mood and desire to sacrifice. And like you didn't see Jesus on the cross blaming everybody else, blaming his neighbor, blaming the government, blaming the soldiers, blaming his mother, blaming his girlfriend, blaming his disciples. He's like, I'm really tired and sick of you guys. And, I was trying to make you perfect beings, and end of the story is like, you betray me. So I said, if Jesus been betrayed, what to speak about Avadhut Maharaj? I'm not Jesus. I'm sure there are a bunch of people doesn't like me, doesn't like my face, doesn't like my accent, doesn't like the way I do things. And so what am I supposed to stop preaching Krishna consciousness because I'm not a native English speaker, or if I'm not a super perfect being? Or like, okay, Avadhut Maharaj becomes a super perfect being and come back. No, I'm not going to do that, because speaking to you about Krishna and sharing my heart about Krishna, that's how we become perfect, by hearing and inspiring each other. That's how we become perfect. So I'm not going to go to exile for another 10 million years or billion years until I become perfect. That may never happens. I tell you honestly, if I just go to desert and stay in desert, you think like in 40 days I come back enlightened? No, in 40 days I probably come back sick, with like hydrate on water, with more chronic disease, fully frustrated. And I'm just say, okay, guys, I can't follow spiritual life. I can't be like Jesus. I'm sorry. Like, I'm going to work in the beer in the bar, like, hey, I'll sell beer, because selling Krishna is too difficult. So selling beer is easy. It's a high demand product, just be in the bar, sell beer and drink beer yourself, and you'll be fine. So that's not my plan, and neither should be your plan, because you cannot follow something. It does not mean that you don't have those ideals. So we're living by ideals and inspiration. And that's what religion is, and in general, highest ideals, which we not possess right now at this moment, but we will one day, or one life, or millions of lives. Who cares? We're eternal souls. We don't have any other chance. We only have one chance. And Mahaprabhu came to give this greatest gift to all of us for that divine purpose, to liberate every living being. So it's not about our capacity to liberate ourselves. It's about our dependence on the mercy of Supreme Lord and devotees. All right, next question, and let's because we have now 15 minutes more, and let everybody else ask question. And appreciate Suresh Krishna Prabhu here. He's translating. Looks like he does. So
Yes, we have a question, Maharaj, from Peter. There is talk of dash of the golden age. Is this happening now, and is life getting better? How does this manifest itself? Looking
well,
at the globalists who make our lives difficult, like China, with its global system, it's a concentration camp.
well, one thing, what I really would like to say about globalists, they're not stupid. Number one. Number two, they're very egocentric people, but they really see many things that are going on wrong in the world. Like, for instance, people consuming animals. So they're not thinking, hey, let's give everybody a Krishna prasadam and vegetarian food. They think like, let's give everybody cockroaches. Let them eat cockroaches, they'll be happy. We're going to eat nice meat, but it's not going to be out of consumption. It's going to be organic, etc. So they're egocentric. They do it for themselves, for their children. They're not doing it for Krishna. They're not doing it for God, but they want to make the world a better place for their children, not for our children. Therefore, they don't mind shortening populations or, you know, take like certain races and let them eliminate each other with hatreds, which, like, they know very well how to spread through media, etc. So I would say they're demons, but on the highest level, they're serving God as well. Just like vultures in the forest, they eat weak animals and they clean the forest. So there's a harmony in ecosystem. So, and even the globalists themselves, they call themselves lions and people ships. So they say, we don't need that many ships. We have enough food. So if too many ships, then too much problems. So it's kind of like, from higher perspective, very harmonious. Because think of this, in this world where people supposed to take this opportunity for their spiritual development, what are they doing? They're just becoming consumers. They're not thinking about nature. They're not thinking about each other. They're just competing on consumerism. So of course, karma will come in time of war, epidemic, and other things. So for a lot of people, coronavirus was really great. For me, it was great. It was a couple of years of terror, but at the same time, people stopped working. They spent more time for themselves. There was a lot more education. So if you really look at one point of coronavirus, you can say it was horrible. From another point, you can say, wasn't that bad? Wasn't that bad? Yes, there were some people that forced to be vaccinated. That's not a story. But believe it or not, the globalists, they decide, we just do propaganda. And you have to make a choice, whether you want to take shot or not. So they're kind of smart because they know, hey, if we didn't force you physically, it was your choice, then you're responsible for it. We just did propaganda. So that's why one of our things is not to listen materialistic propaganda of our own mind. Our own mind is part of that materialistic enemy that with inside of us, not just external enemy. So if you understand that externally something going wrong, you can pretty much deal with external problems, but our main problems are internal problems. We're suffering from our own mind, from our own ego, our own greed, anger, etc. So we have to understand it's not some kind of a external enemy that's trying to make our life horrible. It's us who's participating in all this crazy stuff. Think of this. If all the people in Russia would just say, hey, I'm not going to kill my brothers from Ukraine. I'm not going to do it. Everybody. Could Putin do anything? No, he'll be just alone, crazy guy. But because everybody thinking, well, I kind of have to maintain my family, therefore I have to go and kill. That's the fear and ignorance. That's the biggest enemy of people, not the people itself. So, and I tell you one other thing. If you're not in ignorance and if you're not in fear, then what's the point of dying in this world? You have to die anyway, whether you're going to die from coronavirus or you're going to die from age or you're going to die from any other disease. The question is not whether you will die or not. The question is like, are you going to leave this world with grace and uplifted consciousness? or you're just going to die like animal in fear. So, and that's why if you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, another Vedic stories, you see Maharaj Parikshit and other great sages of Srimad Bhagavatam, they were not afraid of dying. They were afraid of ignorance. So just work every day on your heart and associate with devotees and worship Krishna and pray for grace, and you're not going to be afraid of dying. By the way, in the Shiva mantra, which normally the Rudras, they chant, one part of it's very famous because it's Mrityunjay mantra. Every Indians chant that part. But what it basically explains is, save me from death, because no one can be saved from death. What it just tells, another meaning of that mantra, because every mantra has many meanings. Another have that meaning, let me leave this world with grace. Because immortality does not mean physical immortality. What it really means, let me peacefully transfer the world of consciousness. So that's another meaning of that, worship of Shiva, that you have so much grace that you can help me to become a devotee. You can help me to go towards immortality, my original divine abode, where I'm supposed to reside with Krishna and all his friends and family, not in this physical material world. It doesn't really matter where you are, America, Russia, and Ukraine. This is the world of death. Right now, I'm sitting in Malibu, coastal area, one of the most beautiful place in the whole United States. It has a lot of problems with zonings, problem with zoning coastal commission. You cannot do things here the way you want. It's not a spiritual world. You have to talk to your neighbors, and they may not like you. Your neighbors may tell you, hey, you have too many friends coming to property. Sorry, dude. And, disturb you. So even in the highest, places in material world, you still have to deal with politics, mortality, envy, etc. So what to speak about, Russia, Ukraine, or, North Korea. God bless North Korea. I hope one day we're going to go preach there, because I've been in Korea. It's a very beautiful country to preach Krishna consciousness. And, I wish some one of us would dedicate time to go preach there. Anyway, any other? Okay. Prem Sundar Das, South Africa. Wonderful. Happy to see you, my friend. Long time. Okay, guys. So we have this wonderful meeting. I've seen some old devotees that I haven't seen a long time. I'm so happy to see you all. And it sounds like, we have tons of Russian devotees here and other devotees. So any other last question we want to talk about?
Maharaj, yes, we have last question from Anantashesh Prabhu from Fort Worth. How we can understand that we are moving forward on the spirit path?
That's a very good question. So when you're driving car, you normally have speed measurement. And sometimes when your speed measurement device in your car broken, it's very difficult for you to understand. Are you going above the speed, or you're going too low? So you're pretty much going intuitively. Yes, you can drive this way, but there's a lot of risk that you will, break the rules, and maybe the camera will send you the ticket. And you say, well, I was thinking I was driving so well, but the camera say, no, you're driving 20 miles over limits, and here's like a ticket, you should go. So Guru Sadhu Shastra. So when you're in association of devotees, when you're in harmony with scriptures, our scriptures, because there are many different scriptures, like, for Islamic scriptures, you can eat cow and you can eat meat. For Christian scriptures, you can also do certain things. But when you are follow exactly the Vaishnava Dharma, which is very sattvic and transcendental besides sattvic, and you follow the words of, sages, saints, the community of holy devotees, and you're going for purpose of satisfaction of Guru, who is not different than Krishna, means there's only one Guru, really, is Krishna. But in the heart of pure devotee, or even impure devotee, Krishna can use everybody. Like, I thought, why Gurudev made me Guru? I'm not pure devotee. I'm not any qualified person. But why he wants me to be guru? And I can tell you why. He wants me to be pure devotee, and he wants me to purify myself. Therefore, he's giving me service which will purify me. So if I would say, well, I become a guru because I'm a pure devotee and I'm realized Vaishnava, that would be offensive thinking from my side. Rather, I have to understand I'm very fallen soul, very imperfect, but Gurudev, out of his mercy, give me that job and that service, that task, which make me perfect, whether I like it or not, because that's what my answer. That's the only way I function as a guru and preacher. And every time I function as guru, I'm not thinking, oh, this is my disciples, because some people, it was so funny. There's always people talk against you, whatever you do. So like some people start speaking, oh, Avadhut Maharaj taking over temples in Vrindavan. Yeah, those temples were empty for 12 years. They were filthy, dirty, and no people. And I brought a team of people, cleaned them up, organized service, puja, and helped the Indian devotees to do it. And some people are not happy with that. Why? Oh, they're thinking Avadhut Maharaj controlling. But my answer is this: I'm not trying to control Vrindavan. I'm trying to serve Vrindavan, because with my guru, we were talking about what we want to do in Vrindavan. And that's never happened. So now, after all these years, we have an opportunity to do in Vrindavan something that our guru would like us to do. So our always approach has to be, is our guru happy with what we're doing? Would be happy to see what's going on, or he would not be happy to see? Then we can very clearly adjust ourselves. So if we always thinking about our lotus feet of our guru and scriptures and devotees and Vaishnavas, and we self-critical, we sincere, that means we're not overwhelmed by our own ego. We're overwhelmed by our true humility. Then we can understand, yes, we are fallen soul. Yes, we cannot maybe follow everything perfectly. Yes, we cannot do everything perfectly. We don't have perfect knowledge. But does that mean that we should give up service of our guru? We should give up our beads. We should give up our position and just say, okay, I could not succeed in service of my guru. Therefore, let me become hardcore materialist. But I can tell you, even being materialist, you have to do a lot of work. It's not easy to be good materialist, to follow perfectly law, to be perfect father or perfect, worker or businessman. It's a lot of endeavors to become perfect materialist. So if devotee is thinking, oh, I cannot become perfect spiritual person, let me become perfect materialist. And at this point, some devotees try that and they fail. So now they're perfect losers because they could not succeed on material level and they give up their spiritual path. So I would rather be unperfect spiritual follower than perfect loser who gave up even spiritual and material things, because just thinking I want to do this or that does not make you perform that. You have to have karma, you have to have support, community. It's not easy to become wealthy person. It's not easy to become smart person. It's not easy to become influential person. All these things in material world is coming through your previous karma and as well as big work in this world. So if you look at these movie stars or influential people, they're also suffering. They also have frustrations. They also have enemies. They have the same problems as us. And the problem is with them, they're doing this for temporary purpose of their false identity. And all these troubles that we're supposed to take in spiritual life has to be for the satisfaction of Guru and Krishna and for the spiritual benefit, which is eternal. So I would rather suffer in hell for trying to be devotee than suffer in hell for not trying to be devotee. Anyway, Premasinda Prabhu Das, our very dear friend, disciple of Srila Gurudev, he built a wonderful center, and our devotees from Siberia recently visit and were very, very satisfied. And we do need definitely preachers in South Africa. We have a great opportunity there. And of course, we need somebody who inspire. So I don't know, we actually have very good devotees like Avadhut Maharaj from Navadvip. Maybe you should invite him sometimes. because it would be good for him to go out of India, and because of the big Indian community, and he's a very humble man. Because see, I'm happy to support South Africa in any possible way, but I don't think I can see what I believe is just like Ukraine. I started preaching in Ukraine because I understand the language and culture, but take years to develop community and festivals and stuff. So I think you need to work with somebody like, Nirehi Maharaj or Tirtha Maharaj or any good Indian Maharaj, or we have a nice Maharaj in Govardhan. So we need some of that good devotees to work and to come and inspire. And this devotee, Padmanabha Maharaj in Govardhan, very sweet man, extremely beautiful. So maybe you invite him, because this Govardhan devotee, Padmanabha Maharaj, extremely wonderful disciple of Govinda Maharaj, extremely faithful and super humble and super sweet. So maybe if you can, Premasidhu Prabhu, figure out his tour, preaching tour to South Africa, that would be amazing. Because, he's really, really nice level Vaishnava, really Vaishnava that would support what you're doing and, make everybody happy. Anyway, my dandavat to you, and I'm just seeing you. I haven't talked to you for a long time, but I'm so happy to share with you some of my thoughts. And later, if later you want to call me in Telegram, my Telegram, everybody knows, Narayani knows, maybe Balavanta knows, and I'll be happy to to talk. Anyway, so sorry for this little service opportunity. Let's end up this meeting. It's been already almost 10 o'clock, so let's take one more question, last final question, and let's end up here with the last question so that we can stay in our time frame. Okay, so maybe not any questions today. Let me conclude this meeting with a few words about Krishna consciousness. First of all, I'm very grateful to all of you to join this divine program. And any of you wants to switch to Russian program, I'm going to start now in the next 3 minutes. So I'm going to have a Russian speaking class as well. Second of all, is I'm so happy to see our international community, because when we share together, when we see together, and I'm thinking with Narayani, maybe we can do some kind of a reunion meeting on Gora Purnima, just have devotees, English speaking, all devotees, other devotees join together and see faces of each other and be happy and celebrate. That would be nice, because right now our mission is split to different parts and groups, and little politics going on like everywhere else. You cannot live in the material world without politics. Like, for instance, Avadhut Maharaj came to Riga, and some devotees said, hey, come to New Namahat. But I say, well, why not two devotees meet together and say, okay, today we do one Namahat program, tomorrow we do another Namahat program. It doesn't really make us competitors, make us expanding our mission. But we have to have enough humility and spirituality to be able to understand that if we compete against each other, that's not a Vaishnava mood. The Vaishnava mood is compete for each other, which means help each other, support each other, at the same time and increase our mission. Like I know Suresh Prabhu doing in Daugavpils his own little center in Namahat, he always tried to do that. That's wonderful. So why don't you do something, and we'll come and support you and help you and make you feel great and feel appreciated, etc. So that is devotional mood, when we're helping each other and supporting each other, instead of being possessive and thinking, oh, somebody else coming to preach Krishna consciousness, he's not coming to my center, blah blah blah. So, but you need to have a Vaishnava culture, Vaishnava attitude, and Vaishnava understanding. You have to be Krishna conscious a little bit, because if you're not Krishna conscious, I'm sorry, you're in trouble. Being Krishna conscious means see everything from divine perspective, see everything from point of view that what is good for Krishna. Like I always say to devotees, I'm sorry guys, I'm not Krishna. It's not about me. I'm not Govinda Maharaj, and it's not about so what I should do, what is good for Krishna, what is good for Govinda Maharaj. If this is good for Govinda Maharaj, yes, is good for my guru, then I have to do that. If something like this my guru would not appreciate, would not like, and my guru definitely never like any devotees criticizing other devotees. And second of all, my guru never likes somebody exposing his ego. Oh, I'm big man, you're a small man. I'm this and that. My guru never been like that. So I have to follow what my guru. And by following my guru's path and try to serve my guru and his devotees and his mission, because it's not my mission. It's not Avadhut Maharaj's mission or Suresh Prabhu mission or, Prem Sindhu Prabhu mission. This is not, Prem Sindhu didn't try to build mission for himself. When Govinda Maharaj came, he built the temple for Govinda Maharaj. He wants Govinda Maharaj to enjoy that temple, enjoy his service. And Govinda Maharaj did enjoy that. And so when we work in a specific mood together, mood of service and surrender and dedication, then naturally Krishna will give us grace. Naturally, he will send us people. Naturally, our community will grow because Krishna, why not? Krishna is very happy. But if we start to fight with each other, if we start let people down and try by this to raise others, then definitely will not be successful in the eyes of Krishna, in the eyes of our gurus. So my Dandavat Pranam to you, and the end of the story is let's stick together. Let's be faithful, tolerant, with grace and honor to others. And yes, maybe we'll have some difficulties. Maybe somebody will not recognize what we're doing. That's okay. As long as Krishna and Guru recognize and devotees recognize, we continue our spiritual path. And I'm looking forward to see all of you in next Zoom with your friends, families, questions, and let's discuss spiritual topics, which will bring us great benefit for our spiritual upliftment. And my Dandavat to all of you, the people that organize this Zoom, the people that participate in the Zoom, the people that translate. It's important for us to share Krishna consciousness with others and nourish our own souls. And I'll just switching to Russian programs in 5 minutes. So in 5 minutes, be ready. Is anybody who's Russian speaking to jump on my Russian speaking daily program? I'd be more than happy. My Dandavat Pranam, thank you so much. Krishna bless you, Guru bless you, Mahaprabhu bless you. Wonderful to see all of you in a good speed, good mood. I hope after this meeting, you'll get inspiration to chant Maha Mantra. Let's do it together. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Together, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that's called Sankirtana. Join glorification of Supreme Lord. That's what we should be engaged. And you're doing that and you're participating. Thank you so much. I'm living right now with hoping that you bless me. I'm very insignificant soul, but you bless me for my service. And definitely for that, Guru will bless you as well. Because being able to bless others means to be blessed. Thank you so much. And again, so happy to see some devotees after a long time of separation. Dandavat Pranam.